So I think probably in terms of scaling operations, one thing I'd say is sticking to what are some of the principles and the right way to think about scaling. Oftentimes as a founder, when you have a business, there's a lot of pressure to grow quickly. And if you have a great product, it's important to grow the right way and to take share. But it's important to understand what it means to scale the right way quickly. And so, we had an insight from one of the executives that had started the original Booking.com. And in talking to him about how he did it, he was very good operationally, really sort of emphasized that two things. One is that you really need to make sure that you focus on the one or two things that matter so that you're really focused on what you need to scale and what you need to do to ultimately be successful and win the game. And second is that before you scale, you really need to make sure you understand what you're doing and that it's really in a state where you've executed, you understand it, then you can scale. So for example, in a non-tech example, I think, look at if you have a franchise business or Starbucks originally. I would presume that way back in the day, they had to make sure they had the first few stores running the right way, understanding what the key metrics were, understanding how you can get a result. Once you have that, you can roll out stores very, very quickly and scale. If you were to roll things out before you know what you're doing, that can often end in tears. Well, we've had a lot of exciting adventures. We've been running this company for a long time, went through the great financial crisis, a number of other things. However, I think probably the ultimate test was going through COVID. That certainly tested everyone, but I will say it was unique for us in that we had just completed a $4 billion cash acquisition of StubHub, and we closed the deal on February 15th, 2020. And about 4 weeks later, the entire world shut. And it went, basically revenue went to zero and everyone was locked in their homes. Suffice it to say, an interesting time. We obviously made it through and we were able to do that, and I think for a few reasons. One is that when you think about things and you think about risk, you always want to be protecting yourself for the downside. So while we didn't know that COVID could necessarily happen, I'd always over-equitize the business and put ourselves in a position that if there was some black swan event, we would be able to survive in advance. So I think first is you always want to be thinking about the downside case and preparing for problems. Successes will not be a problem if the surprise is a successful one. You don't have to worry about preparing for that in the same way. The second thing is I think it's very important that people that you're leading believe and understand that you have a plan. You're not panicked. You've anticipated different things that can happen, and you can lay it out very clearly and authentically to people. This is what we're going to do. Because I think that in leadership, people are looking for authenticity and competence. You can be authentic without being competent, which can be very upsetting. You can be competent and inauthentic in how you communicate, and that's also a problem. So if you can do both, you have a plan and you have a clear vision, then you can make it through the storm. A few things that I would probably emphasize. One is on the journey, as people say, it's going to be a roller coaster. There's a lot of ups and downs. It's not always an easy thing to do. So you have to be passionate about what you're doing and really enjoy it. And I think you can't get too high or too low. Every winter, people forget how warm the summer is, and every summer, people forget how cold the winter is. But things go through cycles. So if you're clear on your vision, clear on where you want to go, you don't get too high, you don't get too low. I think that's a very important thing for any entrepreneur because it's been a roller coaster for anyone, no matter how successful the company ultimately ends up being. The second piece of advice I'd give is that it's very important the partners that you pick. Of course, that includes your employees and business partners, but one of your most important business partners is who your investor is going to be. And particularly if you take on an investor at the early stage, they often will be with you for a decade or more. I know Jeremy has been with us for over a decade now. And so you really want to make sure you're comfortable with the person, they can add value, they're going to be someone that you're going to be proud to be associated with. And so I always give advice when I speak to entrepreneurs, they talk about working with Jeremy. And I usually would not say this to Jeremy because he'll get too full of himself. But I do realize, unfortunately, we're filming it, so Jeremy might hear it. But I tell them, if you have the opportunity to work with Jeremy Levine, you are better off taking a lower price and more dilution to work with Jeremy and Bessemer. And I say that not because I'm a friend of Jeremy's, not because I think people should have effective altruism, but because you will be better off. It is in your long-term self-interest to build a business. Your business will be more successful successful, having partners that will stick with you through the ups and downs, have seen the movies of what can happen, and can really help you create value rather than simply being a passenger who may have given you a check to deposit. We have a big vision of what we want to do with StubHub. The first act was really this resale marketplace and democratizing access to tickets by allowing people to buy and sell tickets safely, securely. And that was very exciting, to be the destination for consumers to come for all tickets. We believe consumers just want a choice so that they can go to one destination to buy any ticket for any event in the language and currency they want. They don't care if it's a primary or a secondary ticket. They just want the tickets. If you're a seller of a ticket, whether you are a fan, a broker, a team, a venue, you want to reach the largest number of people you can through the broadest distribution, and do that with the most intelligent pricing that you can through the data. That's what we provide. And so hopefully there'll be a world where people come to StubHub to discover the new live events that they want to go to understand that there should never be an empty seat at any live event, because there's an opportunity for the right person to sit in the right seat at the right time. And this is a vision which we're very excited about. We've always been building towards. The IPO is obviously an exciting event. It's an exciting event to bring on new partners from the public, and of course to hopefully even further our brand and our ability to recruit great people. But it is just a step along the journey of what we're trying to build. So I've known Jeremy for over 30 years. We worked together right out of college. We were both at McKinsey and Company. Jeremy was a star analyst, and I was just happy to be there. But he's been great. He has such tremendous pattern recognition, having worked with so many successful companies, and whether that's LinkedIn or Yelp or Shopify, he's seen a lot of different movies play out, and it's been great to have him on board. Most investors will tell you that they take a long-term perspective, but rare are the people who do, and Jeremy has done that. I think it's also a tribute to how Bessemer is structured and Bessemer's overall philosophy, and it's been great anytime we've needed help with anything that Jeremy's able to tap in not only to his network, but to the Bessemer network as well.